All right. Hello, everyone. Today we are here to talk about research networking. Thank you for joining the library's workshop Wednesday yet again. My name is Sarah Norrell. So just to give you kind of a little bit of a preview as to what we're going to be talking about today, we are going to give some introductions as to our presenters. We're going to talk about the benefits of research networking, different network profiles that you may want to investigate or sign up for. We're going to do just a few live examples, a little bit of show and tell, and then of course field any questions that come up. So like I said, my name is Sarah Norrell. I am the business and just the business librarian and the instruction coordinator here at UT Tyler. And my co-presenter.
Hi, I'm Michael Skinner. I am the graduate librarian for nursing, health science, and pharmacy, and co-presenter. So I take it from here. Okay. Sure. Okay. So, all right. So as you probably guessed, we're going to be focusing on the tech side of social networking. We're going to be looking at research networking. We're going to be looking at the apps and programs that can help you build a passive profile that will make you more visible to others in your field who may want to collaborate at other institutions and whatnot. It's not a substitute for the research networking that you do at conferences and when you go and do poster presentations and whatnot, but it's a good way to augment that and just make sure that you are getting maximum visibility. So we're going to talk about, let's start by talking about the benefits of research networking with networking technology. The first and foremost, it promotes and connects your research and scholarship across the board. Now, obviously, you're getting recognition by virtue of getting published, but the more you can upsell through various profiles and whatnot, the easier it is for people to find you. It boosts your professional networking opportunities. Now, not all of the sites we're going to show you are going to provide like immediate networking dialogue, but there are some that give you the opportunity to reach out to people and ask questions. Thinking particularly of ResearchGate. It also provides depth to resumes, CVs, and applications because some of these technologies, besides aggregating all of your citations in one place, they provide ways of getting recognition for some of your other scholarly work. Besides the direct publishing you do, and many of you will be doing peer review. And historically, that's kind of an unsung task, but there are services that have cropped up in the last few years that are changing that. We'll show you some of that. All right, so first up, we're going to talk about the Orcid ID. Orcid stands for, and it's Open Researcher and Contributor ID. Basically, this is an author disambiguation service. So what that does is, if you are John Smith, this is a way as an author of distinguishing you clearly from every other John Smith out there and making you easily identifiable. This is a durable 16-digit number that follows you across your entire research career. It stays with you if you undergo any name changes. Oftentimes women, they may change their name due to change in their marital circumstances. So it's durable. It stays with you. It allows you to create a profile. It brings your works together. There are ways that you can aggregate all of your work. And it also provides a database for finding other scholars and looking them up by name or by subject area. All of our slides that have an accompanying video will have a link at the bottom, so you can access that by going to the site and just clicking that link. It's free sign up, okay? So there's no cost. Anyone can get an Orcid ID, whether you're published or not. Everyone can get one. So if you are a faculty member or just a graduate student and you don't have any publications out there, You can go ahead and sign up for one in anticipation of the work that you will produce, and that way you'll be that much further along. Orcid ID is important because at this point it's an optional item, but increasingly across industries, it's becoming a requirement. There are some funding agencies that require that you have an Orcid ID. Thinking government agencies like the NIH and the National Institute of Science. Many publishers require it. So it's not a bad thing to get at the beginning of your career if you're just starting out, or if you're planning on applying for federal funding. So, and we'll show you how to do. We'll show you where to go and how to sign up for that here later on in the presentation. So that's Orcid ID. Google Scholar is another good one. It's another place that you can showcase your publications. Basically, Google Scholar provides a citation service. So besides putting out there any of your open access publications and creating a virtual bibliography, it just gives you a great place to be seen. And so many people use Google Scholar that really is a good place to position a profile. So you can monitor who is citing your work and how often they do it. This is one of 3 services that allow you to do that. Scopus provides the same service, as does Web of Science, and Google Scholar is independent of those. So it's just a nice third option for that. It's easy to set up a Google Scholar profile. In fact, if you have a Google account, you're halfway to doing it. So all you got to do is just sign in and follow a few steps, and you're on your way with that. Okay, Clarivate Publons is a service that's been around since 2012. It is the product of 2 researchers from New Zealand and Australia, respectively. Its original design was to promote peer review, and so this is a place where you can come and you can get credit for any peer review that you do. You register with their website, and you can upload any documentation that establishes that you did peer review, and you can add that to your resume from there. They provide a way of verifying your peer review. They also provide a unique service where they will provide training and seminars to help improve your skills as a peer reviewer. So something to put on your resume, something to maybe help you in your efforts to gain work as a peer reviewer. So it started as an independent platform. Web of Science picked it up in April, I guess, of this year. So yeah. So, it's now part of the Web of Science Clarivate family, and it's a great resource. All right, Scopus. Scopus is a product of Elsevier. It's one of the 2 main commercial services that track your citations. Of course, Scopus is known as a great database for the sciences and arts and health and medicine, but they provide review services for the scholarly productivity of journals, and they provide measurements of your scholarly productivity as an author. You can, because they index, they're already indexing your work. As an author, you can go in and you can claim any items that they've got indexed there. Profiles can be connected with Orcid IDs, and they provide author metrics and research analysis, and there's a link to a video that talks about how that works. Okay, Web of Science is the second commercial index that also provides measures of the scholarly productivity of journals and authors' scholarly productivity. Author profiles are generated with works indexed in the Web of Science core collection. Authors can, just like you can in Scopus, you can edit and update your profile, and author metrics and research analysis are also available from that site.
All right, awesome stuff. So moving forward, actually, before we move forward, I do want to point out Scopus and Web of Science are both subscription-based tools that the library has access to. So for your Scopus, your Web of Science, and very, very soon your Clarivate Publons account or profile, you would need to access those through the library's website and our list of databases. And then moving forward, so for anybody who uses reference managers of any kind, also called citation managers, Mendeley is a very popular option, and they allow you to create your own researcher profile within their platform. It's nice because it allows you to keep all of your research and scholarship up to date in one single space. So if you're already using this reference manager often, as you use a reference manager often whenever you're doing any kind of research, then it's nice that you don't have to go to a separate platform to, keep your research profile up to date. It's also really nice because you can connect your Scopus author profile to your Mendeley profile. So that makes it a very seamless transition, and it helps to keep that up to date as well. And another really great and kind of unique thing about the Mendeley profile is that there are optional sections called About and your research interests, and then you can also upload your own image. So if you want to kind of put yourself out there more, or maybe have a higher impact, you can really customize your Mendeley profile as much as you want to. Next is ResearchGate. So ResearchGate is a very popular platform. It was founded to provide access to scientific research without having to go through pricey publishers. So when we're talking about, going through publishers, that's what I was referring to earlier, having to have that subscription-based access that you would need maybe through an academic institution or a library, things like that. So ResearchGate is really nice because there's a lot of content out there that you don't have to have those subscriptions for. Researchers who find themselves indexed or discoverable in ResearchGate can create profiles to boost their impact and availability. And you can connect full text access to your research or publications through your profile, which then of course continues and boosts that accessibility that ResearchGate is known for. There are network and projects features, which again provide more detail, more reach for your networking and more impact altogether. ScienceCV. So ScienceCV actually stands for Science Experts Network Curriculum Vitae, which I'm glad that they decided to call it ScienceCV because that is a mouthful. It is provided through the U.S. National Library of Medicine. This is a very unique profile system specifically for researchers who either apply, receive, or are associated with research funding at the federal level. But it's really nice because while it is very specific, very unique, it can really make your application process a lot easier because you can connect or include your ScienceCV profile with any of your applications. So that's nice. It's a little bit of a time saver that way. And finally, we have LinkedIn, and we left this at the end because LinkedIn, we kind of felt like most people have heard about LinkedIn at this point, but it's worthwhile, to make note of. I kind of consider it the social media for the professional world. It is a great way to make connections with other professionals or researchers in your field. You can create and customize your profile with publications, research, a bio, your goals, any sort of personal summary that you feel like sharing. And then of course you have the option of including like a profile picture and a banner picture in the background as well. It is really nice because you can build your research network that way. And there's a lot of supporting documents and resources online that kind of walk you through step by step of how to maybe expand your research or professional network using LinkedIn. So if you are interested in that, but you don't exactly feel confident in the steps you need to take, I would do just a quick Google search and you can find information on that. And speaking of a Google search, your LinkedIn profile can be Googleable, which means, of course, being able to be found with a Google search. You just have to go in and adjust your profile settings in your LinkedIn account. And so this is not the end of the workshop, but it is the end of our slides. So I'm going to exit out of there. And I am going to move on. We're moving into the part of the workshop where we do, kind of the show and tell. So for this workshop, I did go ahead and I created my Orcid ID, which I was logged in just a minute ago. So I'll log in again. So again, remember that Orcid ID is the, permanent identifier number associated with each individual. So in my future career, if I decide to change my name, or if I get married and change my name, or anything like that, maybe I decide to start including my middle name whenever I'm authoring publications or anything like that, I can connect all of those publications, all of those names, really anything to my Orcid ID. So it's that one constant in all of my publications and research. So this is what my Orcid ID profile looks like. This is where I can go in and actually edit things. You'll see I have my name up here. I have not included a biography yet. I did include my most recent employment, which of course is here at UT Tyler. And then my education. So I have my 3 degrees listed, and you can see more detail. And it's really nice because the Orcid ID allowed me to just search by the name of the university or the institution, and then they auto-filled a lot of the details here about the institution, things that I would not have known. And then there are other options like invited positions and distinctions, memberships and services, funding, and then my works. And so it's a very sparse Orcid ID profile. I haven't really gone through and fleshed it out yet, but I did include some of my conference presentations and upcoming publications. So this is what it looks like in the profile version, the editing version, my personal account. This is my Orcid number or my Orcid ID number. Anybody with this URL will be directly linked to my Orcid ID. So that's something that you could put in your CV if you wanted, or in a job application. The other thing that you can do is you can preview your public record. So you get to see what other people will see, right? So it does look a little bit different. You don't have those options to edit anything, but this is what visitors to my Orcid profile will see. So it takes out all of those empty sections, things like funding, stuff like that, cleans it up a little bit. And again, you just have that URL right there. So like Michael said earlier, an Orcid ID is a great thing to just go ahead and set up. It literally took me 30 seconds to create this profile. And then of course, like anything, however much time you want to spend really fleshing out your profile, updating information, uploading or connecting publications, that is up to you. But the great thing about Orcid ID, it's permanent, it's constant, and it stays with you. Nobody else is going to be assigned this Orcid ID number. So definitely a great thing to take time to really fill out. All right. Now, Michael's going to talk to you about Google Scholar profiles.
Okay, I'm just going to back up now. I can only get so far with my own personal. I'll show you how to set up an account in a minute, but to finish the process, you have to actually have documents you can claim. I don't have those. I haven't published anything. So I'm going to use the profile of Richard Feynman to show you what it looks like. what the completed profile looks like. Okay, so we have a picture of Professor Feynman and his institutional affiliation, and some indications that he would have put in as to his subject expertise in quantum mechanics and quantum electrodynamics. And here we have just a list of his publications by title. We can change that, of course, by year just by clicking on that. And we have an indication of his scholarly productivity over here. Now, it's not like a CV. This is more just a list of his publications, but many people have used the Google Scholar profile as such. In fact, there are some faculty within some of my departments who use this, and it's a fairly effective way of keeping track of that and making your scholarly accomplishments noticeable. To get your own profile, you just have to sign in. If you already have a Google account, you just sign in with your Google account and they'll take you to the registration. Put in my account information, and I started my Google account years ago when I was at another institution. So I'm just going to put that in for now. So it starts basically there's just three things that you need to do to claim a Google Scholar account. Basic profile information. They want your name, your affiliation, your email verification, and your areas of interest, and a home page if you've got that, but that's optional. Once you provide that information, they take you to a list of potential publications. They match you to other publications by people with your name. And if you have anything to claim, you can go ahead and do that. Tick the box for whichever one, and then click the arrow. But I'm not going to do that because that would be academically dishonest. But then once you do that, there are some further settings, and I think one of the things that they want to know is your how public you want to be with that information. But that's basically all you have to do. And then once you do that, your profile is out there. Now, and I think we may have mentioned this, but I think there's a way to link this in with there's a way to link this in with your Orcid account, isn't there?
Absolutely. If you click over to my Orcid right there.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, let's go over one more tab.
Okay.
So there's websites and social links, and you can edit that and then add in, add another link,
Okay.
name it, so on and so forth.
Okay. Yeah. So there you go.
Okay, and finally, we are going to look at your Scopus author profile. So Scopus, like we've already discussed, is one of those subscription-based tools. It's a platform. It's really, really phenomenal, that and Web of Science. If you're doing any sort of research, I highly recommend, kind of digging around in Scopus and Web of Science. One of the things to keep in mind is that because it is a subscription-based platform, you do have to go through the library's website in order to access it. So you do that by starting at the library's homepage, navigating to databases by title. I'm going to go over here to S. And I'm going to scroll down to where it says Scopus. Okay. You do the same thing with Web of Science. Okay. So if I click on it, because we are on campus, it's automatically going to log me in. Now, with a Scopus author profile, you would create an account in Scopus. So you're accessing Scopus through the library, but you would create a personal account on your own. Okay, and that can sometimes get a little bit confusing. Just remember, whenever you create your account, you want to use a username and password that you are going to remember on your own. If you create a personal account in here, the library is not, we don't have access to your username or password. We can't help you retrieve your password later on, nothing like that. So just make sure that, when you create that personal account, you know what it's going to be. And then from there on, you can create your own account. I am not listed in Scopus or Web of Science, and so I don't have a Scopus author ID or a Web of Science researcher profile. What we are going to do though is look up an author and view their profile. So you do that by just clicking here under authors, and then you enter last name and first name. You can add the affiliation if you want to. That gets into specific searching for Scopus, which is not really why we're here. I went ahead and I actually opened up Dr. Kim Nyman's profile. She is a prominent researcher in the field of human resource development and is one of the faculty here at UT Tyler. And her profile is a great example of what a wonderful Scopus profile can be. So we notice we have her name here. We have her affiliation, University of Texas at Tyler, her Scopus ID number, and then you can connect your Orcid ID number by clicking this link. So the cool thing about Scopus author profiles, and same with Web of Science, if you publish and then Scopus automatically will pull in recent publications in the fields that they cover. So things like the sciences and medicine, things like that. If you are published in that field and it automatically pulls in your publication as a listing in their database, then they automatically create an author profile for you. It's up to you to go in, claim that author profile, and then edit it to, what you think is satisfactory. So again, you can go in and you can edit profile, right? If I were Dr. Nyman, I could come in and claim this profile as my own and change it to whatever I see fit. Now, if we look a little further, we see kind of the overview of Dr. Nyman as a researcher and a publisher. So we have metrics overview. So 73 documents by the author are listed or indexed here in Scopus. We have kind of a graph to show you what when documents were published and how frequently, how many documents were published by year. And then the black line going across is how many individuals have cited her works over the years. So it's a nice little analysis of the author's work. And then down here a little bit further, we see the 73 documents that were referenced earlier. You have the documents that have cited her works, and then co-authors, 11 different topics that her research focuses on, and 1 awarded grant. And you'll notice that little beta, that's just Scopus saying they're still fleshing out some of the details for that feature. So you can go down and scroll through all of the listings for this individual. When you work on your own Scopus profile, author profile, you can list as much as you want to, claim those documents in Scopus that belong to you or that you have authored. And the other thing that you can do, we see show author information or more information. So we have subject areas listed. We also have affiliation history, as well as different listings for her name. So if you remember earlier, I talked about, if I change my name in the future, or anything like that, then my Orcid ID stays constant with me. The same thing happens, here with the Scopus profile, and you can set it the same way in Web of Science. So all of these options are really, really great for getting your name out there, boosting your impact, even, gaining new research opportunities in the future. So I hope that everybody has really learned something today. If you have any questions about what we have talked about, any of the profiles that we've talked about or anything like that, you can always reach out to us. I'm also including in the chat the link to the slides so that you can go and, of course, watch those videos that we included, take down any notes that you might have missed, follow up with any of those profiles, anything like that. So I'm not seeing any questions, so we will go ahead and end. Thank you so much for attending, and we hope to see you again at our next workshop Wednesday.